You either use the internet for fun or you use the internet to grow. You're here to grow. Welcome to TRS Clips. I'm not asking you this question in order to demean you in any way. So it's not coming from that place. It's coming from a place of understanding. But hypothetically speaking, say for you in this life, if you don't get to the point of nirvana, hypothetically, before dying, and I'm sure humans get to know that, oh, I'm going to die. And then there's a flash of a thought of whatever your last thought is. It could be different depending on your own subjective reality. My question to you is, what would your last thought be before death hits you if you've not reached nirvana at that point? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to demean you in any way.
No, that's totally fine. Of course, it's difficult to simulate what we'll think about at that time of death.
I ask you this because they say that your last thought is what you get in your next life as well. Am I right in thinking like that?
Yes, Krishna says in the Gita, Antakale chamameva. At the Antakale, at the last moment, whatever you think of, that is ultimately what will determine your next destination. Because it's almost as though that thought at the time of death sums up all your desires, your hopes, your dreams throughout life. And therefore, that moment defines where you need to go next, because man proposes, God disposes. So if you ask me what I'll think of at the time of death, I have a hope of what I'll think of, but that will very much depend on how I conduct my journey now, going forward in these years of my life. And so I don't know if I could answer that question, because I don't think at that point it's like we're making a conscious choice to think about something. At that point, whatever is most prominent in our consciousness will come up.
So you don't have an answer yet?
No.
Okay. What if it happens now? What do you think of?
Again, I don't think you can answer that question. Because I don't think, like say, for example, you walk out of this door, and we're not going to do this, but we slam the door on your hand, then something's going to come out. And it's hard to simulate what would come out, what you would exactly say, or what you would exactly be thinking. Because in the intensity of that moment, the deepest thing in your consciousness will come out. And therefore, for us, it's a matter of trying to develop spiritual consciousness at every moment and allow that to become the most natural state. This is what we call Krishna consciousness. That when we're living in that consciousness moment to moment, then death is almost just like just another scene in the story. And you just continue with that consciousness. And then it's a seamless transition to the next world.
Okay. I'm going to puke out something that's been in my head and that I've not said to too many people yet. Okay. I've been facing this situation maybe on a spiritual level where I fear having more material desires on some very deep level. And I'm very satisfied also with like all my material wishes. Everything that I set out to achieve materially at 22 when my career was beginning, it's done. I probably don't have many more material desires in my heart. I used to have larger material desires which have just died out with time. And I feel I have everything that I need. So at this stage of life, when I'm praying, I just ask God to be with me and to do his or her work in the world through me. That's it. And just that one prayer has been healing me on so many deep levels. And I asked BK Shivani this on the show as well. And she said that it's a very nice point in your spiritual journey that you've reached where you've just submitted yourself to the natural course that the universe will decide for you. So it's great. This is a fantastic thought. This is something I cling on to. That even if sometimes if there's another prayer where I say, I want to get married. I want to get this for my teammates. I consciously try not to ask God for those things. And I just say, no, you know what? Just be my charioteer. And then do your work in the world through me. That's it. But it's changed my opinion about death a little bit. I personally feel that I just want to stay alive because I don't want my mother to see me die before her. But say after she passes away, which she will at some point, just like every other human, will I even truly have a desire to stay alive? Is it wrong to think like this? And I say that because I don't like bringing this up. But Kobe Bryant used to keep saying that he wanted to live a full life and he wanted to die an early death. And then that happened. The air crash happened. So am I creating a bad future moment for myself by thinking like this? Because I am thinking about an early death from a positive perspective. See, when I say early death now, it has a very negative connotation because that's the society we live in, where we're taught to think about death very negatively. I don't look at death that negatively. Am I being morbid in thinking like this? Because, I mean, I would honestly like to exit this reality quickly. Of course, after doing service, after doing social work, after doing spiritual work. Please correct me if I'm thinking wrong.
Yeah. I don't think it's a question of correcting you. I think you're sharing your heart, and that is always valid. There's a beautiful book. I don't know if you've read it, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. He was in the concentration camp in Nazi Germany. And he was every day witnessing all these people being gassed and dying. People who were just waiting to die. People who had lost all their freedom, all their rights, all their future. And in his book, he writes a beautiful line. He says, the last human freedom is the freedom to be enthusiastic about life. He said, you can lose everything, but if you lose the hunger and enthusiasm for life, then you've actually already died. Purpose is the best alarm clock in the world. So when we're spiritually detached, we can actually then go on to make the most beautiful contribution in this world, in this life. In the higher states of spiritual consciousness, it's not about being in this world or that world. It's about being in a position where you can serve others. And if you're in a position here in this world where you have the facilities, the opportunities, the situation where you can render amazing service to others, it's already the spiritual world. In the literatures, there's a beautiful verse. Ihayasya harer dasye karmana manasagira nikhalashvyapavastasu jivan mukta sa uchyate. When one's mind, body, words, activities are all dedicated towards beautifully serving the divine and serving others, jivan mukta, even while living, they're already liberated. They're already in that transcendent space. We once in our temple, we have pujaris, so they worship the deities, the murtis. And we had one young, he was young when he joined at 19, and he became a pujari, and he served the murtis there for 40 years. Then in his old age, he got sick and he went to the hospital. So we would visit him in the hospital every day. So for 40 years, every single day, not the 5 a.m. club, he was the 2 a.m. club, like every day serving. One day, one devotee came in when he was in the hospital, and he was looking very down. So the devotee said to him, "What happened?" He said, "The doctor came to me today and he said that there's a chance that I can get out of hospital." So this person said, "That's great news." But then he looked at this person and he said, "But the doctor told me that if I get out of hospital, I'll never be able to do the service that I was doing before. And then his face dropped. And then he looked at this devotee and he said, if I can't serve, what's the point of living? So that devotee felt very bad. He left. And then they got the phone call the next morning that this pujari had left the world. And the conclusion was that once he knew there was no more service he could do in this world, then he had lost the will to live. We live to give. We live to serve. We live to make an amazing contribution in this world. And when you're spiritually detached, when you have no more desires here, that's when you can actually make the best service. One American president, he said, it's amazing what you can achieve when you don't care who gets the credit. I think one Indian writer also said, a burning passion coupled with absolute detachment is the formula for miracles. I think it's the greatest time in your life where you can actually make the most beautiful contribution because you seek no personal benefit from it. You seek no personal gain. Then when you serve, you're serving simply out of love. And that's where you meet divinity.
Okay. So it's not wrong where I'm at as long as I align myself towards service.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
This is the nature of the soul is to serve. So wherever we are, we just look for opportunities to serve.
New clips released at the same time that a podcast releases. This is TRS Clips. Make sure you subscribe.